All right, welcome to the show, y'all. Hope everybody out there is having a great day. Prepare yourselves, because we are all over the map today. In just a second, it is getting really, really bad out there. I mean, the economy is falling apart. MAGA's numbers are like at historic lows, numbers I've never seen before covering U.S. politics. So we'll dive into that. We also have Joe Rogan's friends are completely and utterly done with Donald Trump and MAGA, and it's now getting awkward because Rogan himself is still not only pro-Trump and pro-MAGA, I mean, he's like one of the insiders. He's in the club. He's having phone calls with Trump and texting Trump and all this stuff. So got a lot to talk about there. We also have a new Trump scheme is unveiled. He's effectively trying to invade Bolivia. He's trying to invade Bolivia, and now we have massive protests that are erupting. He wants to go after the former left-wing president of Bolivia, Evo Morales. We'll talk about that. Christian nationalists have also totally lost their minds. I have some wild clips to show you, and we have a severe Ebola outbreak that's exploding as Trump is failing miserably at basic containment. And as you all know, we have the world's biggest junk science peddler is now in control of Health and Human Services in the U.S. That's RFK Jr. And we pulled out of the World Health Organization. So it is an absolute mess if I've ever seen one, y'all. So you guys know the deal, man. Everybody do me a big favor and subscribe to the channel and click that bell icon. That helps out the show big time and costs you nothing at all. You, of course, can support the show on Patreon as well. Remember, y'all, this is real independent media. I've never talked to an advertiser. I've never done an ad read. I never will do an ad read. But we are reliant on the default ads on YouTube and then also your $2 a month donations, $5 a month donations. Those go a very long way. It goes a long way if you tip $5 or $10 on YouTube. So thank you to everybody who does do that. You could also sign up for Crystal Kyle and Friends on Substack. That link is below. And go sub to Corin's World so you can come hang out with us on Monday nights live. We have a great time over there. You definitely don't want to miss that either. All right, let's go ahead and jump right in. So let's start with this, man. These numbers, bro, they just somehow keep getting worse. And honestly, we're at the point now where, I don't know. Can it get lower? Is it possible to get lower? If it does get lower, I think we actually are talking about, like, world records here. So let's start with Trump's numbers when it comes to Hispanics and look at this utter catastrophe that MAGA is dealing with.
Yeah, where are we now? What a different world. Oy vey if I'm the president of the United States, because just take a look here. Okay, Latino voters on Trump. He won a record share for a Republican presidential nominee, 46% of that vote, going all the way back since we had the advent of exit polls back in 1972. And look at where he is today. His job approval rating in an average of CNN polls this year, 28%. That is an 18-point drop. The bottom has completely fallen out when it comes to Donald Trump and Latino voters. He won record numbers of them back in 2024.
Let me just pause to point out, he won record numbers of them for a Republican in modern history, right? That's what that 46 number is. Now he's at 28 skis, y'all, 28.
They have abandoned him with the utmost just dislike of what he is doing so far, just 28%, a drop of 18 points.
Now, among Latinos, it was Latino men who were driving this movement toward him in 2024. Where are they now?
Yeah, you think that this movement is a lot? What about Latino men? Oh, my goodness gracious. Okay, Latino male voters. In the 2024 election versus Kamala Harris, look at this. Trump won him by 10 points. Look at the net approval rating now, minus 41 points. That is a movement of 51 points, a shift away from the president of the United States. Latino male voters supercharged that record performance that Donald Trump had with Latino voters, and they, like Latino women, Latinas, are moving against the president of the United States, minus 41 points. Again, the bottom has just completely fallen out. And of course, when you look across that political map, there are so many races that will be involving a lot of Latino voters. And when you see numbers like this, I just go, uh-oh, if I am a Republican running for Congress.
Bro, let me tell you right now, and somebody said this on Twitter, I thought it was exactly right. This is going to be wild because the numbers coming in Texas in the midterms, this could be a bloodbath for Republicans because there's a lot of Latinos in Texas. And, then you have to start to fear not only Trump trying to rig the midterms, but also Greg Abbott is a fucking psychopath. The right-wing Governor Hot Wheels in Texas, he's a psycho. And I wouldn't for a second put it by him to send the Texas National Guard and make some false claim of fraud and basically try to steal it in Texas because these numbers are apocalyptic. It's stuff like this that got Trump over the hump in 2024. And now all of those groups are gonzo. Independents are totally gone. Latinos are totally gone. Young voters are totally gone. Independents, I mean, oh my God, independents have, ran away at 1,000 miles an hour. I mean, it is astonishing. They all turned into Usain Bolt or Gout. Okay? Like, it is crazy what we're witnessing here. A drop of 51 points.
Talk about one of those races in just a moment, but wait, there's more before that, which is, look, this new CNN poll this week talked about just how people have enormous concerns about the economy and enormous disapproval of the president on it. What are Latinos saying about that?
Yeah, okay, I'm going to take 2 for 1 here. It's a 2 for 1 special here on a Friday, or mid-Friday morning, I guess. Latino voters on Trump and the economy. Look, one of the big reasons why Donald Trump put in that record performance with Latinos back in 2024 was because the issue of the economy. They trusted Donald Trump by a 3-point margin against Kamala Harris. But look at his net approval rating on the economy now. Oh, yeah, Johnny B said it best over there. Look at that. Minus 46 points. That's, again, another near 50-point movement against the President of the United States on the number one issue. No wonder the bottom has fallen out with Latino voters and Latino men in particular. And you're talking about one of those races, right, Johnny B? One of those races. Why don't we go to Texas, right? The chance that the Dems win the Texas Senate race. Of course, James Tellerico going to be that Democratic nominee. Look at this. In January, look at this. He had a 19% chance of winning. Look at where we are now. A 45% chance of winning. That number is up through the roof. And part of the reason that number is up through the roof is because a lot of Latino voters turn against President Trump. And it could be that they turn against Republican nominees for Congress and for the United States Senate in particular.
Damn, son. We also have this national poll by CBS. Trump's approval rating, 37%. Disapproval, 63%. In the CBS poll, this is the lowest second-term approval that he's had. Remember, guys, CBS is now a hack organization run by Barry Weiss, owned by the Ellisons. Zionist MAGA hacks is what they are. Even in their poll, 37% support for Trump. Trump's net approval on key issues. On immigration, minus 14. Iran, minus 32. That's a new low. Economy, minus 34. A new low. Inflation, minus 46. That's a new low. So Trump's overall approval of inflation is down at 27%. Okay? I told you guys, I'm waiting for that 29%, 28% banger for a national poll, a national approval rating. But the fact of the matter is, we've actually seen it already and then some when it comes to specific issues like inflation. He is about to get clobbered, y'all. Clobbered. Okay, CBS YouGov poll. Is your income keeping up with inflation? Yes, it is. 23%. Only 23%. Only 29% say the U.S. economy is good. Only 29% say that. These are astonishingly low numbers, okay? Still not done, though. Trump approval trends among white, non-college voters. For those of you who don't know, this is the Republican bread and butter. This is like your day ones. These are the ones that hold you down, man. Like, this is like, if you lose them, you lost everything. It's like losing white evangelicals as a Republican. Ready? So, the approval was 68% in February. That's plus 36. The approval now, 46%. So he's a minus 8 with a group which is like his most hardcore demographic group that follows him and goes wherever the fuck he wants them to go. That is devastating, man. Devastating. All right. Net approval trends. Ready? Among independents in February of 2025, Trump was minus 2. Then he goes to minus 26 in September, minus 38 in March, and now minus 46 in May. Holy shit. Among young people ages 18 to 29, in February of 2025, he was plus 10. As of now, in May of 2026, he's minus 42. That's a 52-point swing, y'all. That's a 52-point swing among young people. That is, these are numbers you can't come back from numbers like this. Even if you were to reverse everything he's doing and inflation were to get under control immediately, just the fact that people were put through what they've already been put through is enough for them to be like, fuck you, kick the bums to the curb. All right, Scott McFarland says, rancid numbers and trajectory in an election year. Feelings about personal finances. Concerned, 76% now. It was 72% in May of 2025. Stressed, 67%. It was 65% in May. Secure, 44%. Back in the day, in May of 2025, it was 53% were secure, nearly a 10-point drop in people feeling secure in their finances. Content, only 43% say content, 53% said that in May of 2025. Then we get to the real nuts and bolts of the conversation, y'all. How the economy, bro, like people are still underestimating just how bad this current moment is and just how ugly it's going to get. So let me walk you through some of that here. Quote, we're facing the largest supply shortage of lubricating fluids in the modern history of America. realistic middle-of-the-road estimates are for our average available supply in this product category to drop by 40%. It's an internal AutoZone memo, which is basically saying, like, hey, bro, we're kind of running out of this thing known as motor oil. Like, what? Yes. Understand something, guys. We had an oil shock that wasn't as severe as this one that happened in the 1970s. That led to rationing. That led to, hey, if your license plate ends with an odd number, you can only get gas on these particular days of the week. If it ends in an even number, you can only get gas on these other particular days of the week. They were rationing. There are 80 countries already that put into place emergency measures to try to conserve energy. 80 countries already did that. Where are the fucking idiots who are like, we don't give a fuck, bro. We're going to ride the Titanic right into that motherfucking iceberg. We're going to ride the ship right into the rocks. So they're acting like there is no problem here, but there's a massive problem. And you already see gas is already near $5 a gallon, which also is an input for every other element of the economy. So what are you going to look at? Are you going to look at grocery prices that skyrocket even more? Are you going to look at shortages in some place, for example, because the trucking to get the food to rural communities, it's not worth it for companies to do it, so nobody takes the contracts? Again, people are not truly factoring in how ugly this can get, okay? And when AutoZone is telling you, by the way, we have a 40% drop in having fucking motor oil, that should be a little bit of a wake-up call to everybody, shouldn't it? ABC News says grocery prices in the U.S. soared faster in April than any month in nearly 4 years, driving up the cost of everything, from frankfurters to tomatoes to cupcakes, according to government data. Holy cow. Then we also have this. Senator Peter Welch says, the Trump administration is essentially banning wind projects on private land. Energy prices are higher than ever right now. Why would President Trump actively work against lowering energy bills? I'll answer that question. It's either because he's a Manchurian candidate and he's trying to destroy this country, or he's the dumbest person to ever sit in the White House. There's your answer, Senator Peter Welch. But yes, Canary Media points out, it's a de facto moratorium on wind power in the U.S. More than 250 wind projects on private land are stalled now that the Defense Department has halted once routine reviews. So stop and think about that. Not only are there no more public wind projects, there are no private wind projects either. So at the same time, Trump is creating an oil crisis, a gas crisis, this massive energy shock. He's also saying, you're not allowed to do solar power, you're not allowed to do wind power, you're not allowed to do renewable technologies. It is literally the dumbest thing you could ever imagine, trying to actively handcuff this country. By the way, as other countries are now speeding up their investment in renewable and green technology, we are stuck. It's basically like we're doubling down on the horse and buggy at the same time the automobile was just released. That's what we're doing. We're doubling down on the Morse code machine at the same time the telephone just came around. That's what Trump is doing. That's how fucking stupid this disgusting, gelatinous, pedophile, rapist, con man criminal is. Every decision is wrong. Like, literally every decision is wrong and stupid and dumb. All right, how about this? As family homelessness hits record highs, school districts are offering parking lots as safe sites for students and their families to sleep at night. Ladies and gentlemen, Elon Musk is projected to become a trillionaire in the near future. Let me repeat that. Elon Musk is projected to become a trillionaire in the near future, as family homelessness is hitting a record high and people are sleeping in school parking lots. This is a broken system. This is a broken economy. But you know what? Maybe it's not. Maybe this is exactly how capitalism functions. Maybe the answer is to tax the fuck out of the billionaires and soon to be trillionaires and take that money and you redistribute and you give people housing, you give people education, you give people healthcare, you give people a chance at a decent life. Right now, the income and wealth inequality is worse than during the fucking Gilded Age, and we're all sitting around with our thumbs up our asses like there's nothing we can do about it. There's a lot we can do about it. And guess what? The Trump crime family, the criminal regime, they're in the midst of kicking 18 million people off Medicaid and tripling your health insurance premium. They're actively making your life harder every single step of the way. People are homeless, and the billionaires are getting richer and richer and richer, and they don't give a fuck about you. If anything, they're trying to make it so you lose whatever job you do have, because they want AI to completely and utterly take over. So then we also have this. The Trump-Vance administration has quietly lifted restrictions on M44 cyanide traps. These are essentially cyanide bombs that indiscriminately kill anyone or anything that interacts with them, not just pests. In one case, the Department of Agriculture planted a bomb near the home of an Idaho family. The 14-year-old boy and his dog found it and accidentally triggered it. It killed his dog and severely injured him. Biden's Bureau of Land Management banned their use in 2023. The Trump-Vance administration is bringing them back. You could not dream up a more cartoonishly evil White House than this, and the icing on the cake is how it has integrated themes like protecting the homeland into its propaganda when it is quite literally poisoning the homeland in more ways than one. So there's an article on it right here. Trump administration lifts ban on cyanide bombs that kill animals. Okay, but that's not it though. The Trump administration is repealing a rule that prevents power plants from releasing hundreds of millions of gallons of toxic mercury and arsenic into drinking water. They are quite literally green-lighting the poisoning of our drinking water, ladies and gentlemen. We have rolled the clock back to a primitive system of government. This is an anarcho-capitalist regime. It's actually anarcho-capitalism for you, socialism for the rich. Give the rich all the money, let them loot and pillage, let them rob the taxpayers relentlessly, endlessly, give them tax cuts, give them subsidies. But when it comes to regular people, your water is going to get poisoned by these companies, and there's nothing you can do about it. That's what they're doing. So as all this is going on, Trump sat down for an interview with Fox News' Brett Baier, and he's asked, like, hey, here's some MAGA voters that say they're struggling with this economy. What would you say to them, sir? And look at Trump's reaction.
When you hear Trump voters, Alex says, I voted for you 3 times. He can't handle the costs, and he's not for this foreign conflict.
I hate it, bro.
He's not for the foreign conflict, but Roy in Pennsylvania, he's a retired farmer. He can't handle the fuel going up, and he says
it's going to come down very fast.
And
well,
so,
look, disappointed.
I'm just telling you
when
what they
you say to him, Roy, Alex, we got a problem. We just hit the highest stock market price ever. By the way, then, when I went in. Now, again,
it's higher.
With the war, it's higher than it was when I went in.
These people are like, hey, I can't afford gas. He's like, well, the stock market is very high. Yeah, but you fucking asshole. Like, half the country owns no stocks, and like 90% of people don't have a significant amount of stocks that it makes much of a difference if the market goes up. The stock market is an indicator of how the rich are doing, how the investment class is doing, how like the 1% are doing, at most top 10%. You can't be like, well, the stock market's doing well. Working people usually don't have investments. Or certainly don't have many investments. The bottom 50% literally has no investments. This is so fucking out of touch. It's astonishing, bro.
The highest stock market price ever. By the way, then, when I went in. Now, again,
it's higher.
With the war, it's higher than it was when I went in. Think of that.
I agree.
The 401ks at their all-time high. There are more people working right now in the United States of America than at any point ever in the history of our country.
He's going to get so fucking clobbered, bro. It is so over. It's going to be too big to rig with shit like this. So they're saying, hey, we're struggling. Can you help out? And he's like, actually, things are amazing. Things are tremendous. And you're just sour grapes. Have you not realized the stock market? Did you look at the stock market? Oh, my word. Oh, my word. And by the way, they're only going to have that talking point for a little while longer because at some point, that shit's going to go belly up too, bro. At some point, that shit's going to collapse around us like nobody's business. Mike Johnson says Congress can't survive on $174,000. So as you struggle, this is what they're saying about their salary of $174,000.
Well, look, the salary of Congress has been frozen since 2009. When you adjust for inflation, a member of Congress today is making 31% less than they made in that year. It goes down every year. And over time, if you stay on this trajectory, you're going to have less qualified people who are willing to make the extreme sacrifice to run for Congress. I mean, it's just people just make a reasonable decision as a family on whether or not they can come and move to Washington, have a residence here, residence at home, and do all the things that are required. So the counter argument is, and I have some sympathy, look, at least let them engage in some stock trading so that they can continue to, take care of their family.
Oh, my word. Oh, no! Come on, son. He said that with a straight face. He said, look, they only make $174,000. They can't even fucking keep up with inflation. You got to let them do some stock trading so they can feed their fucking families, bro. They're making 174,000 DZACs. That is so much more than your average American. That puts them in the top 10%, bro. He's like, what are we supposed to do? They haven't had a raise since 2009. You motherfuckers haven't raised the minimum wage since 2009, and not a single Republican is lifting their finger to raise the fucking minimum wage. Not a single one. Do you guys want to give yourselves a raise? Oh, no. Guillotines are about to roll out in this bitch, bro. I'm telling you, people cannot handle this shit. You are going to make people snap. You are going to make people snap. At some point, everybody's going to wake up and realize that the Republican trick of blaming trans people for all your problems and immigrants and black people and Muslims, that those are not actually the problem. The problem are the billionaires. The billionaires and the fascists and the warmongers are going to go down, and they're going to experience tremendous fury of working Americans who watch videos like this, and they fucking snap, son. They snap. All right, not done yet, though, because here's Lindsey Graham, the chief Trump ball coddler and semen slurper, and he goes out there, and he defends Trump. Remember when Trump said, I don't think about Americans' finances at all. I don't think about that at all. Well, here comes Miss Lindsey to defend this and act like, actually, he's totally right, bro.
Inflation has climbed to the highest annual rate in 3 years. Gas prices are at a 4-year high. Grocery prices are climbing. President Trump was pressed on how all of these factors impact how he views his negotiations with Iran. Take a look.
I don't think about American financial situation. I don't think about anybody. I think about one thing. We cannot let Iran have a nuclear weapon. That's all.
Do you agree with the president that he shouldn't be taking
You could literally see the fear in his eyes. Look at his eyes. You can literally see the fear in his eyes. Like, God damn it, Donnie, you really put me in a corner here. Now I got to use all my fucking bullshitting skills to try to tap dance my way around this. Here's Lindsey Graham thinking, I wish I was back in Disney World holding like a little magic wand. Tinkerbell's fucking magic wand, as he was caught doing, actually, by the way. That's what Lindsey Graham's like, oh no, even I'm going to have a hard time bullshitting my way out of this one.
taking Americans' financial situation into account when dealing with Iran?
That's his Churchill moment. When Churchill came into power, he promised blood, sweat, toil, heartache until we deal with the Nazis, who are an existential threat to the British way of life. And if Hitler had taken charge of the planet, it would have been the darkest hour in humanity. I believe Iran wants a nuclear weapon. They would use it. So does President Trump. They would use it as part of their religious agenda. They would destroy the Jewish state. They would eventually hold us hostage. So his audience, the Iranian regime, do I worry about gas prices? Yes. But President Trump's right. The biggest threat to stability in the world is a nuclear-armed Iran. And whatever price we have to pay, we will pay. What did Churchill say?
Nobody signed up for this shit. And you motherfuckers weren't saying you're going to have to sacrifice, it's going to be hard. None of you motherfuckers said that. You were acting like you be in and out fucking instantly. Okay? By the way, what's the difference? What's the difference? Well, I don't know. Hitler was actually an existential threat and was trying to do global domination. And Hitler and Winston Churchill was right to say, hey, he's trying to do global domination. He's a real threat. Whereas with Iran, they were no threat whatsoever, you lying con man. In fact, Iran agreed to the strictest terms to limit their enrichment hours before they were attacked by Israel and the U.S., a.k.a. the axis of Epstein. So who do you think this works for? Who thinks you're telling the truth? Who thinks this makes sense? Absolutely fucking nobody.
Every price we have to pay to beat Hitler, we will pay. Same with Iran. So good news, we're inside the 10-yard line. I think if we go back to military activity, weaken them further, then we can end this thing pretty soon.
I got news for you. The better comparison, if you're going to compare anybody to Hitler, it's not the Iranians, bro. It's the Israelis, and it's us. Trump himself. What's he attacked? 8 countries already? And you're going to say, oh, Iran. Who have they attacked? Trump's already attacked like 8 or 10 countries. Who have the Iranians attacked offensively? Fucking nobody. This man's a sick, disgusting joke. Okay. Now, also at the same time, ready for this? Trump's $2 billion taxpayer-subsidized slush fund comes with a legal disclaimer that basically says we are not responsible for any crimes committed with this money. So understand what happened here, y'all. Trump sued the IRS. I always forget the number. What was it, 10 billion, 100 billion? I think it was 100. He was asking for a shitload of money from the IRS, his own IRS, saying, you leaked my tax information. That's illegal. That's an invasion of privacy. I'm going to sue you and take you to court. Then Trump's own IRS goes, oh, no, sir. I don't want to go to court. I don't want to fight this with you. Maybe we shall settle out, okay? Let's settle out of court. And then Trump's own IRS goes, well, what if I give you $1.7 billion instead of the $100 million you're suing me for? And you can take this $1.7 billion and basically do whatever the fuck you want with it. And you could basically make it a slush fund that pays all of your family, all of your friends, all of the January 6th insurrectionists. And Trump goes, I wanted the $100 billion, but I guess I'll have to settle for the $1.7 billion. Okay, you twisted my arm. We'll make that deal. So now Donald Trump, the sitting president, is currently looting the Treasury in a way we haven't seen ever in our history. This man is looting the Treasury. He also stole $10 billion, illegally, by the way, to fund his Board of Peace, which is supposed to be above the UN, and only he controls that money. In the same way, he kidnapped Venezuela's president, stole their oil, sold it, made hundreds of millions of dollars, and put it in a bank account that only he controls. Okay, this is what we're witnessing. We're witnessing a crime spree the likes of which we've never seen. All of this happening as you can't pay the bills. As gas is nearly $5 a gallon. okay, as you're struggling to pay the light bill, as you struggle to afford groceries, as everybody's going, what the fuck? I can't afford anything anymore. And this motherfucker is swimming in money that he stole from American taxpayers and the people of Venezuela. And now he's going to pay the January 6th insurrectionists who assaulted cops, who committed crimes, who are literal terrorists. He's going to pay them for doing his fucking dirty work. This man needs to be locked the fuck up, bro. This man needs to be locked the fuck up. Here's a list of some of the people eligible to get payouts from taxpayers from the IRS slush fund that was just created. Ready? Sloppy Steve Bannon, Peter Navarro, Rudy Giuliani, Mark Meadows, Stuart Rhodes, Enrique Tarrio. This is a who's who of criminals. Sidney Powell, Jenna Ellis, John Eastman, Jeffrey Clark, Boris Epstein, Joe Biggs, and Walt Nauta. So it's a who's who of criminals. It's a who's who of con men and liars and frauds. And now they are going to rob the American taxpayer. When I say these people need to be locked up, oh boy, do I mean it. Oh, but they should thank me for saying that. Because the reality is there's going to be a whole bunch of people to my left who say more should happen than just that. You understand what I'm saying? So you should be thanking your lucky stars that there's somebody like me out there saying you should be locked up. You should be charged, arrested, locked up, and they should throw the fucking key away. Because this crime spree is unlike anything we've ever witnessed before.
Hey y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.
So we got a pretty big deal here. This just dropped the other day, but the Golden Ballroom Slush Fund violates the Byrd Rule, according to the Senate parliamentarians. So they say, today the Senate parliamentarian advised that the provision in the Judiciary Committee title of the Republicans' bill that provides $1 billion for Trump's gilded ballroom would be subject to a 60-vote threshold if it remains in the bill. Quote, the American people shouldn't spend a single dime on Trump's gold-plated ballroom boondoggle. That's why in a bill where Republicans are ignoring the needs of working America, instead attempting to funnel $1 billion into Trump's Louis XIV style ballroom and throw tens of billions more at two lawless agencies, Democrats are fighting back, said Ranking Member Jeff Merkley. While we expect Republicans to change the bill to appease Trump, Democrats are prepared to challenge any change to this bill. So the Republicans' own parliamentarian says, oh yeah, you would need 60 votes to approve this ballroom funding. Okay. Now remember, Trump had been saying, oh, I'm going to get it through private donations. Well, turns out, no, I guess they decided we got to go through Congress. And then when they tried to go through Congress, they failed. Also, he went from saying it's going to be $200 billion to $200 million to $400 million to $600 million. Now they're asking for $1 billion. Okay. But there's no way they're going to be able to get to those 60 votes in order to get this thing done. So Scott McFarlane says, tough break for the Trump ballroom. Senate parliamentarian rules the $1 billion project will require 60 votes for approval per Senate Budget Committee Democrats. Very, very steep climb. Now, here's the question. Will they just ignore the shit out of this? Because I could see Trump just flat out ignoring the shit out of this because he's ignored 1,000 other rules and laws and court decisions. I mean, that's sort of like his trademark is I'm just going to absolutely blow off whatever the fuck you're telling me to do. I'm just going to blow it off. And in fact, I have right here, the Trump regime blew off 57 court orders, and that was of July. Okay? So as of July, it was 34% of the cases that Trump had in front of the court system, he would just blow it off. ICE themselves have blown off nearly 100 court orders. And again, this is just a little taste. Never mind the stuff that they're doing that they never got approval through Congress. Never mind the lack of checks and balances. Never mind whenever there are attempts to sort of reel them in, they just sort of swat it aside and continue ahead like a bull in a china shop. So this is what we're dealing with. We're dealing with a lawless regime. And when everybody read this, you know, everybody thought, oh, that's great, like no more ballroom. But they already illegally demolished the entire East Wing, bro. They already illegally demolished it. And you have the court system came out and said, well, you can't really just do this. Like you obviously need to get approval through Congress. So they're ignoring all like zoning laws, all proper regulatory procedures. They were ignoring even going through Congress. Now Congress is effectively blocking it, but what are they going to do? Are they going to proceed anyway? Well, we do have a little hint on that front because the journalist Jim Acosta, he came out and he said the following about another project that Trump is illegally working on with no approval whatsoever. Watch.
Okay, guys, I'm back over here just outside Arlington National Cemetery looking across the Memorial Bridge into Washington, D.C., where the Lincoln Memorial is. You can see it over my shoulder. I'm seeing these two staging areas in this traffic circle right across from the entrance to Arlington National Cemetery. It looks as though Donald Trump is going ahead and having his administration build the arch without any kind of approval process. It looks like they're just starting to do this by setting up this staging area here. I'm going to stay on top of this. I'll keep you posted. We're going to monitor this to see if he's going to try to pull another fast one and do this on his own.
It looks like he's just working on the Arc de Trump, which is another idea that he fucking made up out of nowhere. And he goes, let's do this. I want an arc in my honor. I want my name on absolutely everything I can put it on. No legal approval, nothing through Congress, nothing through the regulatory process. This is getting ridiculous at this point, right? Like, he's flat out acting not only like a dictator, he's acting like a fucking emperor. And everybody's just yawning as he basically gets his way on every front.
And also, guys, an update on the reflecting pool project. I'm down here today taking a look at this. I'm just looking at the paint. It's pretty splotchy. It is not an even coat. And take a look.
It's splotchy. It's not an even coat. It costs way more than what they said it would cost. Trump is clearly getting a piece of the action because they're overcharging like a motherfucker for it. And, like, the color is like a dark blue. It's like a dark blue. I think it's probably going to look worse than what it looked like before.
Look around. I'm not seeing a whole lot of workers out here. It makes you wonder, are they ever going to get this thing done?
Jesus Christ, man. Jesus Christ. So, for those of you who are following along, here's an updated list of the U.S. House GOP bills that would honor Trump. They want to carve his face into Mount Rushmore. This is stuff actual Republicans have proposed, okay? Legally, officially. They want to rename Palm Beach Airport after Trump. Guess what? He already got that one. Ron DeSantis approved that one. Now there's a Donald J. Trump Airport in Palm Beach. He wants to rename Dulles Airport after Trump. They want to do that. They want to require the State Department to award a Trump Peace Prize, which would be the most embarrassing peace prize of all time, since he's one of the biggest warmongers of all time. They want to declare Trump's birthday a federal holiday. They want to award Trump a congressional gold medal. They want to mint a $250 bill in U.S. currency with Trump's image on it. They want several resolutions urging Trump be given the Nobel Peace Prize. They want the directing NIH to conduct research on Trump derangement syndrome. And as I added to this, don't forget, he's already signing his name on currency. Again, something he totally made up and just started doing. They also, I forgot to write this one down, but now they're putting his face on passports. If you get a new passport, they're putting his face on it. Again, like we're a fucking banana republic. He forced his name on the Trump Kennedy Center and ruined the Kennedy Center now, by the way, where no artists want to perform there because they don't want to be affiliated with him. He's, of course, still trying to work on that Epstein Memorial Ballroom. He originally wanted to name that after himself. And now the Arc de Trump as well. So, I mean, just completely and utterly out of control. This is completely... We've never seen anything like this. There was a time when Trump would post some goofy shit like his face on new currency in the first term, and people would, like, laugh at it. Like, oh, yeah, that's funny, man. Like, he's sort of joking around. He's, you know, it's almost like he's like a parody of himself in many ways. But no, like, it takes on a whole different meaning when you realize he fucking means it. He means all of it. The man is genuinely psychologically unwell, and he's the most malignant of the malignant narcissists. And there's this deep, empty void at the center of him, and he can't help himself but try to, like, force himself into the history books and make himself, you know, this figure that can't be argued with, that, you know, is remembered for generations. I mean, that's effectively what's going on here. But as I said, man, thing number one for any Democrat in the future is going to be, his name's got to come off absolutely everything. His name's got to, not only all this government stuff he's trying to put his name on, his name's also got to come off the buildings, his private businesses. I'm ready to liquidate those shits. Let's do demagnification. Let's liquidate it. Let's expropriate the wealth from the entire Trump crime family, because this is all ill-gotten gains. Do you guys realize that yet? Do you see this yet? That they've only gotten to this point because they've been on a lifelong crime spree, and they've caused so much pain and devastation. I mean, this is the same guy, by the way, and you guys know this, but this is the same guy who literally stiffed his plumbers and his electricians and all the people who worked on his hotels and his casinos. They have charities that were total frauds. Trump's university was a fraud. I mean, he literally did tax fraud and insurance fraud and business fraud. These are not reputable people. I remember the story of one of the architects who built Trump's golf clubhouse at one of his courses, and he says, yeah, he paid me half of it, and then he just never paid me the second half. And somebody was interviewing him, and they were like, well, what the fuck? Like, why? that's crazy. What'd you do about that? And he's like, I didn't do anything. He said, because if I went to court and sued, I could have ended up maybe losing more money than I would have gained. Because let's say my legal fees were $600,000. Well, I was only supposed to get paid $500,000. Like, I was afraid to go through the process, so I just ate the loss. This is who this guy is. He has a track record of this. He has a long track record of exactly this. He's a con artist. He's a scammer. He games everything. And you could argue he's the most successful con artist literally of all time. And we're witnessing what that looks like now. It ends with a guy with Alzheimer's who's sundowning in front of the world, who's lost his damn mind, now trying to force his name on currency, force his name on the Trump Kennedy Center, force his name on the Arc de Trump, force everybody to build this fucking ballroom, put his name on airports, all this shit. This is what it ends with. A guy who's completely lost the plot as the country is crumbling around him and as he's launching a new war every other week. He's engaged in these navel-gazing, self-obsessed, disturbing acts of vanity. That's what it is.
Hey y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.
So with the Rogan sphere comedians, as soon as Trump stopped being popular, he also stopped being funny to them. And, you know, they all hopped on that Trump bandwagon when it was the thing to do online. But now you can tell they're sort of embarrassed about it. And the reason they're embarrassed is because not only the internet, but now the world has so thoroughly turned on Trump, and he's fucking everything up so bad that, honestly, you look like a fucking idiot if you ever were on the bandwagon. I mean, let's just be honest. That's what it is, right? Tim Dillon is one of these guys. Now, I mean, he's fully and completely turned on Trump, and he dedicates a lot of his show seemingly every week to sort of talk about how bad he's fucking everything up. And here he is. I believe he's talking about the Iran war here. Let's listen.
I think people are prepared for what is coming economically. I don't think people have a clue. I think people think the war is over. It was a bad idea. We shouldn't have done it. Oopsie. We'll spin it as to like we could have won but didn't want to. That'll be the spin. We could have killed them, but we didn't because we're a merciful nation. God only knows what spin we will have on this. We would have killed them and should have, but we know we have restraint, and then we'll lie and we'll say that we made great progress and they would never think of having a nuke now. Why would they think of having a nuke now? You know, and it's like, well, I could think of, I don't know, one big reason they'd want a nuke now more than ever.
Oh, that's exactly right. And let's be serious. This is the part that very few people will tell you, but I'll tell you. They should have a nuke. That's right. Iran should have a nuke. And they're no threat whatsoever to wake up one random Thursday and decide to nuke Cleveland or Tuscaloosa or Tampa Bay or fucking any DC, New York City, LA. Like, I'm sorry. The whole reason for them to have a nuke is the idea of mutually assured destruction, the idea to have some sort of deterrent against aggression from Israel and the U.S., the axis of Epstein, who have proven we will offensively attack you and not think twice about it. We'll bomb your bridges, we'll bomb your schools, we'll bomb your hospitals, and then we'll go on TV and talk about how you guys are savages and you guys are barbarians. Not us, the school bombers, but you guys, the non-school bombers. And so they should have it. By the way, North Korea, they have a nuclear weapon. Guess what? They're still in power. You can't do shit to them because they have officially created a deterrent. Okay? That's what people need to realize. So they should have it. They should have it. They'd be crazy not to have it. The best thing that could happen for world stability is for the IRGC to come out tomorrow and say, by the way, we ran our tests. We have a nuke now. So if you fuck with us again, we will nuke you. That's the best thing. Because then Israel and the U.S. got to go, all right, I guess we got to find a way to live with these motherfuckers, you know?
But we'll do something, and will Israel let us get out of the war? Probably not. Let's just be honest. They're not going to let us get out of the war. They have no plans. Israel right now is like, no, we're not. No one's leaving the idea of this war. You can take breaks. You can take a beat. But the idea of regime change in Iran is not going anywhere for the Netanyahu government, by the way, or for the next government that's elected there. They don't care. They're not planning on letting us out of this war if they can help it. And they can. So talking to the guy that was checking us in the room last night, he was basically like, oh, yeah. You know, I work at a high-end hotel, and we've lost a lot of business because people are incredibly distraught. Not only are their countries being attacked, But the economic fallout from this is going to be massive, and people don't get it. And I don't think your average American has a clue. I think some of them do. I think the prices are starting to go up. The price of fuel is higher. The price of goods at the local store are much higher. But I'm unaware if they know what's coming, because it seems to be that we're going to be in a whole lot of trouble.
So what he's hinting at there is, gas shortage, right? He's hinting at rationing. He's hinting at, oh, you can only get gas if your license plate ends with an odd number on this day and this day, and if it's an even number this other day and this other day. That's what he's hinting at. He's hinting at genuine shortages of some stuff, right? AutoZone now said we're down 40% for our motor oil. Kind of a big deal when your whole company is built off fucking oil, right? Like, I don't think he's wrong. In fact, I think he's correct. I think people genuinely still don't get it. There's this honestly comical assumption that, at some point in the near future, the Strait of Hormuz will open up. The Strait of Hormuz is gone, bro. It's gone. Iran's not going to give up control of the Strait of Hormuz ever now. They run it. They're going to tax people to use it. And the U.S. would be better off to just fucking acknowledge that. Just accept that, okay? Because you're not going to get them to agree to anything else. So why not at least open that bitch up and pay a little tax? And the empire just will not agree to that. We will not agree to it. We're not even agreeing to the most basic shit that they're asking for. Never mind, they're saying you got to pay us reparations for bombing us, right? There's no way Trump will ever fucking agree to that. So we are at a stalemate, and that says to me there's going to be, the hot war portion is going to be back, and it's going to be back relatively soon. Somebody made a good point. Ben over at Minus Touch said he thinks the only reason the hot war portion hasn't started again so far is because they have the fucking thing coming up in June. They have the fight on the lawn of the White House, and Trump doesn't want to be embarrassed going into that. But as soon as that shit is over, virtual guarantee it's right back to bombing if it doesn't happen beforehand. But, I mean, that's what we're talking about here. But he's not done yet because now he pours it on even heavier. Here we go.
We're not telling China to fuck off. We're done with that. Let me help everybody. We're done with that. We're not the high school bully anymore. We're not. We're the weird kid who may have a gun. We are not the high school bully anymore. We're the weird kid that may have a gun and is not hot, but is not terribly ugly. Like, you might fuck them. That's who we are. We're the weird kid that knows how to get drugs, who may have a gun, and you could see yourself fucking. We're not the bully. We are not the jock. We are not the quarterback. The American quarterback century is over. This is not Top Gun. We are not Tom Cruise. You need to wake the fuck up. There's a new Chinese kid in school, and he's kind of American looking. He's kind of ripped, but he's also Chinese, and he's hot, and people want to fuck him. They want to fuck him because he's kind of got a nice cock, and people want it. They want to get down, and they want to slurp him. They don't want to slurp us anymore. You know why? Because we've hung out behind the Dairy Queen too long, doing drugs with our friends. We look a little older. We have wrinkles in our face. We're the college kid who keeps going to the high school parties. We're a pedophile, and we may have a gun.
I hate to tell you, Tim, but we've been the awkward weirdo with a gun probably at least since the Bush administration, bro. We're talking like early 2000s until today. Maybe there was a brief moment there under Obama where the world looked at us a little more positively than being the weird kid with the gun. During the Obama era, the rest of the world wanted to fuck us a little bit. But every other president from Bush on minus Obama, they're sort of looking at us like, yeah, you motherfuckers are kind of crazy. And it shouldn't come as a surprise because Trump in his first term increased drone strikes over 400%. He increased the Pentagon budget every single year. He kept us in Iraq. He kept us in Afghanistan. He bombed Syria twice. He bombed Somalia. He assassinated a top Iranian commander. He armed and funded a genocide in Yemen that was done by Saudi Arabia. He hired every psycho neocon. He let Israel annex the West Bank. We've always been the fucking weirdo with the gun. But now it's so extreme that even former MAGA supporter Tim Dillon can acknowledge it openly and obviously. I'm very curious what his audience reaction is to this because obviously when he had on J.D. Vance and gave him a hot stone massage, that's going to attract a certain audience. And then now the people that he's sort of appealing to would fundamentally be the opposite kind of people. The people who are still probably pissed at him for ever supporting MAGA. So it'd be interesting to see what's going on with his audience. But now we also move on here to Andrew Schultz. And Andrew Schultz has had a bit of an awakening himself because he didn't have on J.D. Vance, he had on the man himself. He had on Donald Trump, and he asked him a whole bunch of softball-ass questions. And then Trump went on to start an illegal war of aggression. Trump went on to have his ICE Gestapo thugs shoot peaceful protesters in the face. And so Schultz had to go out on his show and basically do a mea culpa and be like, yeah, it turns out he's actually the fucking devil. Oh, you don't say. If only there was like a whole side of the political spectrum that was warning you of that from fucking day one. But anyway, I digress. Here he is talking to Charlemagne, and Charlemagne has the ability of keeping him a little more grounded as a general rule. And here's what he has to say.
How on earth is it possible that the Democrats could lose the midterms given unbelievable levels of corruption from the administration and the cronies? Another war that nobody asked for and nobody understands and nobody supports unless you have family in Iran or you have family in Israel. Those are the only people I've spoken to in America that are like, all right, this sounds good, okay? None of the wars they said are gonna stop have been stopped. And refusal for a single person to get arrested over the Epstein files. Like not one, the only person that's been arrested over the Epstein files outside of Epstein who's dead is Ghislaine Maxwell. Which is already hilarious that like the one woman involved is the only person in jail. Right. How can the Democratic Party not?
Because Republicans are going to cheat. In a free and fair, if it was a free and fair election, it wouldn't be close. But
how do you cheat? Like, how do you convince people that they're doing a good job? Like, what are they delivering on for you? What can they hang their hat on? That's what I'm trying to understand.
I mean, cheating means none of that matters. Cheating means it's not who does vote, it's who counts the votes, right? It's what they say happened. And they're doing these dry runs where they go and they fucking, took the ballots from Fulton County in Georgia and took the ballots from Arizona, and Trump has 7 different plans that at any moment he could put one or the other in motion. He could have ICE go and seize the ballots. There's a million. They're already doing ballot purging and ballot spoiling, kicking Democratic-sounding names off the rolls. Like, this is what they do. So Charlemagne's right. They could just cheat, right? They could just cheat. Now, hopefully, they don't have their ducks in a row, and everything else they've done is so incompetent that maybe they won't be able to pull it off properly. That's possible, but they could just cheat. But guys, the takeaway here is the Rogan sphere is falling apart, bro. Like this is not sustainable. Andrew Schultz is a hardcore friend of Joe Rogan, has been for quite a long time. Tim Dillon is arguably one of his closest friends and has been for a long time. But now you have these people who were the two who were most with him with his MAGA arc. They're going, about to pump the brakes on this bitch. They're going, I don't know about all that, man. This is kind of crazy. He's actually a demon. And it's kind of untenable because Rogan himself, he's still making phone calls to Trump. He's still texting Trump. He's still showing up to the White House and giving Trump a fucking photo op. He's still shaking his hands at UFC events. He's still telling stories about how Trump's a great texter, man. Sometimes he'll make the text go big and say America is respected again. Bro, it's kind of crazy. Like, we're on different planets here. And now you have, just like we covered the other day, Theo Von called out Rogan directly on social media and basically said, like, hey, bro, keep my fucking name out your mouth. Saying my mental health's not good. My mental health is fine, bitch. Shut the fuck up. Also, Rogan gaslit Theo Von to his face over politics. That happened on Rogan's show. So this isn't tenable, bro. I know they're all good friends. I know that, they'll probably always at the very least be cordial. But there's a little bit of like, hey, I want to go from being like in the Rogan sphere to let me like create a little bit of distance away from this shit because this shit is kind of whack. Like the Rogan sphere is washed. It is whack. Like they're not cool. They're not edgy. They're not popular. They're not fun. They're sort of like, they're viewed as like dumb, scoldy right-wingers now, right? Like boring, stale, dumb, scoldy right-wingers that nobody gives a fuck about anymore, right? Except like your racist uncle. like that's it. Like normal, cool, young people, independents even, or like they want nothing to do with these people. So that you get the sense Andrew Schultz tiptoeing away from Rogan. Tim Dillon's tiptoeing away from Rogan. The irony is Rogan listens to Tim Dillon's show allegedly every week. Well, if you do, motherfucker, you should be a lot more anti-Trump than you are. You shouldn't be. But the thing is, like, Rogan made his own bed. Now he's going to sleep in it. Rogan's relationship with Dana White fucked him bad. Rogan's close relationship with a million right-wingers who text him fake news stories, that fucked him bad. Rogan's relationship with Trump now, personally, like, he just likes him as a person, and that's going to always taint his judgment, cloud his judgment. There's no way he's going to be able to tell you the full truth, ever. And so this is almost like, this is like, I'm going to distance myself from this shit because even I know. And by the way, they're doing it for career reasons, let's say. There's nothing principled here. It's all like, oh shit, the vibes have shifted so hard. I don't want to be out here in the Titanic with that ship sinking. I need to be on a fucking lifeboat. So let me try to create my own lifeboat and take a couple steps away from the dying Rogan sphere. That shit is crumbling all around them, bro, and it seems very obvious.
Hey y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.
If Donald Trump is the most humiliating character this country has ever created, then John Fetterman is a close second. Because John Fetterman ran as a Bernie-style progressive. Then he gets in there. He's got brain damage from a stroke. And all of a sudden, he does a hard right turn. Now he spends all of his time coddling Trump's ballsack and telling everybody Netanyahu is awesome. So now he loves genocide. He loves the fascist criminal Trump regime. And it's just, he gaslights everybody 24/7. And also, his brain literally doesn't work. Like, he basically has figgy pudding in his brain. And it's leaking out of his ears. But here's the funny thing. Fox News, they like to use anything they can to sort of build their narrative. So they invite on John Fetterman, and they love the idea of a Democratic senator who tells us everything we want to hear. And so Fetterman goes on Maria Bartiromo's show on Fox News, and this is just straight up hard to watch. Prepare yourself.
So that's why I blame Iran at this circumstances. I certainly don't blame America to hold this regime accountable. And like the reflecting pool in the ballroom, you know, I don't care about those things. I think it's entirely appropriate. I mean, I think I've seen a picture, assuming that it's not AI. You know, so far the reflecting pool looks good. But if that's $13 million, that's small. Yeah. I think President Obama correctly, you know, he invested $34 million to make some upgrades. I mean, America's turning 50 years old. You know, why wouldn't we want to make sure everything looking great? Right. And now we do need a ballroom. You know, we do. I mean, I really,
Okay, you literally have the Fox News host is now getting uncomfortable. Like, she's actually uncomfortable. So I don't care about the ballroom or the reflecting pool, but I'm in favor of the reflecting pool. And we need a ballroom, bro. We totally need a ballroom. Like, are they paying you at this point, John? Are they literally paying you? Is that what's happening here? Jesus Christ.
I think we have, you know, much bigger fish to fry. So I'm saying build it or not. And that's where I'm at. But not just because the president asks for one doesn't mean I'm going to oppose it necessarily.
Well, we're going to.
I love how his brain is so cooked. He makes this point every day like he's some sort of genius for saying, I'm not just going to be against it just because Trump does it, bro. Like, I'm better than that. I'm bigger than that, bro. Well, I don't know. Maybe you should be against it because it's illegal. Maybe you should be against it because there was zero approval. Maybe you should be against it because at the same time Americans are struggling. They're now wasting a tremendous amount of money slapping Trump's name on fucking anything and everything, building the Epstein Memorial Ballroom and Lord knows what, a nuclear bunker underneath as he's, you know, launching us into World War III. Maybe there's other rational, logical reasons to be against doing these things with U.S. tax money. At the same time, Americans are struggling, looting the treasury, shaking down the taxpayers. There's also a lot of corruption and graft in these deals that Trump is making to have these people do these jobs. With the new fountain that they just got back up and running, with the reflecting pool, Trump is taking a piece of all the action. It's massively corrupt. And you're just like, oh, ballroom good, me like ballroom, me like reflecting pool. Go ahead, make reflecting pool. So, like, we found the one Democrat in America who's like, yay, ballroom, yay, fucking gross reflecting pool that Trump is fucking up. Like, are you also in favor of him putting his name on the Trump Kennedy Center illegally? Are you also in favor of him throwing his name on currency and putting his name on Mount Rushmore, you fucking ogre-ass bitch? Jesus Christ. So I responded to this and I said, the ogre can't stop slurping the pedo's meat. And unfortunately, that's exactly right. But I'm not done yet because this somehow gets even worse. Here, he's going to talk about the Iran war and gas prices. And oh boy, in a world that made sense, he should, like, this alone, he should have to resign for this.
You had two Bushes, you had Clinton, you had Obama. I mean, you have several presidents, even before President Trump, and several secretaries of state, I mean, like 10 officials, say that Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. Do your colleagues, are they not aware of that?
I mean, I hope, but right now, though, it's become it's people like it's, you know, America's the good guy.
They weren't making a nuclear weapon. The JCPOA had it so they definitely wouldn't have a nuclear weapon. Trump ripped that up. He ripped up the Iranian nuclear agreement that Obama made. Okay. Hours before Iran was attacked by the U.S. and Israel, They agreed to zero enriched uranium, zero, and they got attacked anyway. This has nothing to do with nuclear weapons. And then all this fucking ogre can muster, America, good guy. Are you a literal fucking caveman? Is that what you are? Are you a literal caveman? America, good guy. Me want meat. Me club animal overhead. What the fuck is this, bro? What is this? Again, you can see Maria Bartiromo is even uncomfortable. Like, she feels like she's taking advantage of this poor guy by having him come on and spew Republican talking points. Which, by the way, what does it say about Republican ideology that a guy adopted all of your policies after massive brain damage? What does that say about your ideology and your talking points? Like, it is literally a party for the brain damaged. I'm not kidding. That's why we say there's a lot of lead brains that are Republican, and there's a lot of fucking CTE havers who are Republican. I mean, a stroke literally damaged his brain, and he came out like, hey, Republicans are right about shit. What does that tell you?
People like, it's, America's the good guy. Iran is the bad guy. I mean, of course, nobody.
Okay, by the way, let me just say, R.M. Brown, if you're watching this, and if he's not, somebody please send this to R.M. Brown. We need a new drop on his show, and the drop needs to be John Fetterman in an exasperated way saying, America's the good guy. We need a new drop on R.M. Brown show. Somebody send this to R.M. Brown.
America's the good guy.
Come on, man. That's a perfect drop. America's the good guy.
America's the good guy.
It sounds like a child trying to convince himself that we are the good guys just after learning we nuked Hiroshima and Nagasaki and killed so many civilians. America's the good guy. America's the good guy. Oh, my word.
People like, it's, America's the good guy. Iran is the bad guy. I mean, of course, nobody likes to see gas at this prices right now. I blame Iran. I don't blame Iran. I don't.
Come on, bro. Come on. I blame Iran. Like, I don't blame Iran. Maybe that should be the drop. R.M. Brown, should that be the drop? I think that should be the drop. One more time.
Now, I blame Iran. I don't blame Iran. I don't.
I blame Iran. I don't blame Iran, though, bro. You know what I'm saying? Oh, Lord, help us. He's one of the 100 most powerful people in the country. Oh, Lord, help us. Oh, my days. Oh, it is so over. It's never been more over. You could go out on the street and pick a random 100 people, and they guarantee you they would run the country better than these fucking psychopaths.
Blame Iran. I don't blame the administration, because I happen to agree as a Democrat that we should make sure that Iran can't build a nuclear bomb.
You're saying you blame Iran. You blame Iran for the spike in oil prices, not this administration, is what you're saying. But I mean,
Maria had to come in and save him. It's bad when the right-wing host is like, all right, I'm gonna have to, I gotta jump in. I gotta help him.
You're saying you blame Iran. You blame Iran for the spike in oil prices, not this administration, is what you're saying. But I mean, I'm wondering.
All I have to say is congrats to all the Israel supporters out there. Congrats to all the Republicans out there. This is like the perfect embodiment of what you guys are. Right? Like a literal brain-damaged idiot who can't put a sentence together, who doesn't know his ass from his elbow, who's falling apart, who clearly can't live like a normal life. And they just trot him out here to, hey, say the things we like, say the things we agree with. Well, again, if this is your avatar, the guy who has literal brain damage, hey, you know what? That's a fair representation. Because that's how I feel like that's what I feel like when I'm dealing with all of you people. You all seemingly have brain damage.
Hey y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You want to.
All right, y'all. So this is, let's be honest here, what I'm about to show you here, this is like humiliation. This is just an embarrassment. This is so sad. This is one of the saddest things I think I've ever seen. In this moment of the rising relevance of new media, online media, you have these old legacy outlets, these mainstream outlets, and they're also like desperately looking for their footing, right? Like they're not on solid ground. They feel like, we're effectively being replaced by a different kind of media. And so in their panic, one of the things they're doing is like, hey, let's try to compete on those grounds, right? So like the Washington Post now has a fucking random podcast hosted by some random journalist, and they're posting clips from that on social media. So let me play this for you here. The Make It Make Sense podcast, as it's called, from the Washington Post. And the text here says, Californians get free diapers, but at what cost? So this is a new thing. There's a new thing here that Californians are getting free diapers because of a new law that was passed and signed by Newsom. And apparently the Washington Post is trying to make this scandalous, that like one of the state governments did something unequivocally good for working people. But here's the host, and listen to what she has to say about this. Prepare yourselves. I'm just warning you. Prepare yourself.
When Gavin Newsom says he's giving out free diapers, what he really means is taxpayers are on the hook for $20 million.
Donald Trump is asking for $1.5 trillion to carpet bomb girls' schools in Iran and hospitals and bridges and power plants. $1.5 trillion. The Pentagon can't account for 63% of their money, and they failed 8 audits in a row. We're talking about not even billions. We're talking about trillions of dollars. Trillions with a T. You're trying to fearmonger that 20 million taxpayer dollars went to diapers for babies? I'm supposed to be mad? Well, I don't live in California, but Californians are supposed to be mad that $20 million of their tax money is going to diapers for babies? Are we being serious right now? Oh, we're just getting started.
What he really means is taxpayers are on the hook for $20 million. Talk about a nanny state.
This is what happens when you have no idea how to compete in this new media landscape, but you try. Like, this is desperate. This is like, oh, we need to be cool. We need to be edgy. We need to be hip. We need to be with it. Let's put this random journalist on this random podcast and post it to social media. By the way, I'm burying the lead here because right now you can see 821,000 views on this. It has 76 likes. I'm not kidding. The thing was up for like half a day and it had 1 like. 1. It was only after it got attention from people like me and many others who were in the replies like, it was fucking humiliating, that more people saw it. And that's why it got to a whopping 76 likes. But it had 1 like. But this is what happens when you bring old establishment, stodgy conservative thinking to new media. You're going to get fucking eviscerated because nobody wants to hear your shit.
Last week, the governor announced a plan to give 400 diapers to new parents when they leave the hospital. Sounds nice, until you remember that...
I'll just say this now. After I watched this video, I was like, oh, hell no, I need to learn more about her. And the first thing I thought in my head is, I bet you she went to an Ivy League university. She went to Harvard, I called it. I was listening to the argument she was making, and I was like, oh, this is the classic, like, establishment, elitist, the person, I respect institutions for the sake of them being institutions, like the teacher's pet. Like, is it actually a good thing that we're giving diapers to babies? Please. I was dead right. She went to Harvard. She went to fucking Harvard. What do you know? All right, let's keep going.
Sounds nice, until you remember that nothing about it is actually free. In fact, Newsom's idea of free might explain why state spending has exploded by well over $100 billion since he took office. Now, the program runs through a nonprofit with some pretty cozy ties to the Newsoms. Its co-CEO sits on the board of another nonprofit, run by none other than Newsom's wife. That's when you know government is getting far too big.
Bro, are we serious? If you're telling me this is like Democratic corruption 101 and you compare it with Republican corruption, oh, I will bathe in the Democratic corruption. The Democratic corruption is the purest, most wholesome thing I've ever seen in my life. We have Trump was just caught doing millions of dollars in insider trading, making anywhere between 220 million and 750 million. He would buy some stocks, then go out there and say something positive about the stocks that day and make that shit surge. He would do market manipulation during a fucking war, okay? He sued the IRS for $100 billion, then had them settle with him for $1.6 billion. Then he shakes down the taxpayers for $1.6 billion and gives that money away to all of his friends and his allies and January 6th terrorists. He crypto scammed his own supporters. They're looting the Epstein class is looting the treasury right in front of our faces, okay? Trump pardoned a guy who laundered money for Al-Qaeda because that guy bought his world liberty tokens. This is the most corrupt. That's Republican corruption. What's Democratic corruption? California families got 400 free diapers per baby. That was. Are you kidding me? Oh my word.
That's when you know government is getting far too big. When publicly funded benefits start flowing through well-connected circles. And here's the fundamental problem. If Newsom really wanted to help families, he wouldn't be handing out diapers because he wouldn't have to. He'd be boosting prosperity and opportunity. He'd be lowering the cost of living.
Oh no! Oh my word. If you just do more capitalism, then you wouldn't need to do free diapers, because then diapers would still cost money, but it'd be less expensive, and somehow that would lead to them getting diapers, even though it's not free now. And like, what is this? This is the dumbest argument I've ever seen. This is so fucking tortured, and it's so fucking try-hard. Oh my God.
Dealing with crime, making energy more affordable. He'd be tackling those day-to-day quality of life issues.
Are you saying free diapers for newborns is not a day-to-day quality of life issue? Is that what you're saying? Are you saying that that doesn't help improve quality of life for new families? Oh my God. Oh my God. I just got like a hot flash of anger. Oh my God. This is so dishonest. Holy shit.
He'd be tackling those day-to-day quality of life issues. Instead, he keeps pushing policies that make all of these problems worse.
Oh my God. By the way, let me go to this. So Newsom's press office says, in response to a New York Post article, Gavin Newsom's $20 million diaper deal torn apart with shocking figures. Quote, peak stupidity. Newsom's press office says, this is false. MAGA and the New York comic book are once again spreading lies. Fact, it's a $6.2 million contract, not $20 million. Fact, it covers 40 million diapers in year one and about 15.5 cents per diaper, not 50 cents as claimed. Fact, Baby to Baby was chosen through a rigorous competitive procurement process. It is a national nonprofit based in California with strong experience in delivering diapers for families in need, and in the last 15 years, they have distributed over 300 million diapers to families in need across the country. This program is a game changer for new moms, providing 400 free diapers for all newborns. Why is MAGA anti-family? It's sick. And by the way, there's the difference again between Democrats and Republicans. Trump will literally call up a buddy who gave him money for his campaign and be like, you want a contract? I'll give you free taxpayer money. You don't have to do anything. You could just rob it. And here, there was actually a competitive process to determine who's going to do it, who had the best track record, who had the cheapest diapers, with the highest quality. There was a whole thing that went into it, and then somebody came out on top. But no, to the Washington Post, apparently, they're hopping on board the MAGA bandwagon and the right-wing fucking bullshit bandwagon. And here we are. They're humiliating themselves. So if you read the replies, again, notice they had 76 likes on this tweet, with 821,000 people that viewed it. I said, oh my God, this is humiliating. 4.6 thousand likes. The Newsom press office is here. 21 likes in 3 days. Everyone is panning this truly embarrassing garbage from the Washington Post opinion section. This random elitist columnist is attacking California for giving free diapers to moms because she doesn't understand the basics of a competitively bid contract that our office had nothing to do with. A nonprofit won the contract to provide diapers below consumer cost to help keep babies clean and healthy. That's the scandal here. Then she claims Newsom should focus instead on crime, even though crime is down. Make it make sense. Post Left Watch says, I know. Instead, we should make diapers free to all parents in unlimited quantities. That's exactly right. This video sucks. LOL. I think 20 million is an appropriate number for a budget for free diapers in a big-ass state that's as big as many countries. You should delete this garbage. Ma'am, this is some very stupid ranting. What in the fuck does this ass clown think taxes are for? And then this person says, LOL, Karine Hajar on anti-Israel protests. This is disappointing all the way around. That makes perfect sense now, doesn't it? The fucking Harvard-educated elitist scumbag who now works for the Washington Post and gets 7 views per video until it blows up and most people mock her. She apparently was also tut-tutting the pro-Palestine protest, the anti-genocide protest. Isn't that exactly perfect? Isn't that exactly why she was hired at the Washington Post? By the way, for the Washington Post, hey, how did it work out to start pandering to conservatives? How did that work out? Is your reputation getting better? Are you making more money? No, it turns out you just pissed off your liberal base. All of them abandoned you. Conservatives didn't come to watch you because all they want to do is listen to Nick Fuentes and Asmund Gold and Fox News and One America News Network. So you catered to conservatives. It didn't work. You lost your liberal base. Now nobody wants to fucking listen to you. And you hire idiots like this. What the fuck does she represent? Pro-genocide politics, anti-fucking life politics. Let's not give free diapers. I'm going to call this a fucking scandal. At the same time, Trump is looting the treasury to the tune of billions of fucking dollars. And you're going to talk about a $20 million diaper program, which has been wildly successful. Fuck you. This person says, nanny state, fuck off. In 2025, California was the nation's largest donor state, sending an estimated $691 billion in federal taxes while receiving back around $608 billion. So in other words, California is a net taxpayer to the federal government, not receiver. This resulted in Californians contributing roughly $83 billion more to the federal government than the state received in federal funding and services. That, ladies and gentlemen, is exactly correct. That is exactly correct. None of that brought up because this is total hack shit. That's what we're watching here. Total hack shit. So get fucked Washington Post and your shitty fucking podcast called Make It Make Sense. Make your show make sense. Who is this for? Genuinely, who is this for? Who are you trying to cater to here? What do you want, Ben Shapiro to watch it? Is he your fucking target audience? Congratulations. I got bad news for you. Nobody agrees with that motherfucker. Nobody agrees with him. So I just can't. This drives me crazy, bro. Shit like this just absolutely drives me crazy. I mean, I'm crashing out because, like, really, anytime a Democrat, and Newsom's like a moderate Democrat, he's like a centrist Democrat. Anytime a centrist Democrat does even, like, any little thing that actually helps people, now you're not only going to have right-wing media whip up fake scandals to go after them and say, pretend like it's outrageous when it's not. Now you also are going to have establishment media and mainstream media, supposed liberal media, is going to throw a fit over this. Nah, fuck you guys, man. Fuck you guys, man. I hate these people so much.
Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.
All right, so we got to talk about what's going on in Bolivia because Trump is allegedly plotting an invasion of Bolivia in an attempt to kidnap the former left-wing president, Evo Morales. So this is a huge deal. Basically, what they're trying to do is the same playbook they did in Venezuela with Maduro, the same playbook that they're about to run in Cuba as well. They're also looking to do it with Bolivia. So add Bolivia to the list of countries that there are plans to attack, ladies and gentlemen. Add it to the list of countries. And by the way, nobody's talking about this. So first, let's start with this right here. Common Dream says, miles and miles of protest in Bolivia as miners and unions march against privatization and low wages. Peasants, unions, and other groups are protesting a law that they say would allow corporate control of small farmers' land, as well as fuel shortages and a low minimum wage. So the current right-wing president is doing all sorts of privatization reforms that are infuriating workers and indigenous people, okay? And now you have these massive protests that are erupting. So this is going on in the background as we get stuff like this. Evo Morales claims U.S.-backed military plot to kill or detain him in Bolivia. Former Bolivian President Evo Morales accused the United States on Friday of planning his assassination or detention through a military operation coordinated with the government of President Rodrigo Paz, with support from the DEA and U.S. Southern Command. Now, by the way, there's been other attempts on his life. I believe he had an attempt on his life in 2004 as well. And he's been warning about this. Now, he was supposed to, now get this is rich, right? He was supposed to go to court for child trafficking. So in other words, if you're following along, the same people who every single step of the way defended the Epstein class and the Epstein network, which is literally active to this day, and arrested nobody from the Epstein files, those are the same people who are going, oh, he's a child trafficker, arrest him, arrest that child trafficker. He's a child trafficker? What are you talking about? There's no evidence of that. What are you talking about? This is what they do. They always whip up bogus bullshit charges, just like they're doing against Raul Castro in Cuba. They whip up bogus bullshit charges as a pretext to do an invasion, to do a kidnapping, to try to rout the entire left in Latin America and make it so it's right-wing dictatorships everywhere that serve as puppets to U.S. Capitol and the Epstein class. So the irony is, it's the Epstein class pointing at others and going, they're human traffickers. Absolutely, positively fucking absurd. So Morales says there's a military plot to kill or detain him. Okay, ready? A massive crowd assembled in La Paz's working-class twin city, El Alto, to demand Bolivian President Rodrigo Paz resign. Indigenous-led demonstrations come as the Bolivian regime was caught preparing to launch a U.S.-backed operation to kidnap Evo Morales with 2,000-plus troops and cops. Okay, so let me play some of this video here for you. Look at how many people are out there, bro. Look at this. That's a lot of people, dog. Look at this. That's a lot of people out there in the streets, okay? Bolivian workers have seized the airport located near Evo Morales' residence, Chimore Airport. The runway has been occupied in order to stop U.S. planes or helicopters from landing. Leaked documents attached below show U.S. forces and Bolivian police have planned a raid to kidnap Evo. Breaking, U.S. Armed Forces and Bolivian police are preparing a joint operation to kidnap Evo Morales and massacre the indigenous communities in the vicinity. Police officers opposed to the plan have leaked documents confirming the operation. So this is a journalist from Latin America, Ali Vargas here. He's the one who's reporting this, and you can see the documents that he has right here as verification of it. This obviously leaked, and this led to a massive fight back, okay? This led to the population rising up and going, no, we like Evo Morales, we want to protect Evo Morales. Ali Vargas says, why is the U.S. preparing a military intervention against Bolivia? 1, their humiliating defeat in Iran has shattered myth of U.S. invincibility. They need to reassert power elsewhere. 2, Bolivia's general strike shows the rest of Latin America how to overthrow U.S. puppet regimes. The general strike plus barricades blocking highways has paralyzed the government. If sustained, the neoliberal government will collapse, and it'll show the rest of the region how to overthrow their own U.S. puppet regimes that impoverish them. The U.S. wants to crush this idea. So now, yet again, let's remember, you're adding to the list Bolivia now. So Trump has already bombed fishing boats in the Caribbean and in the Pacific, killing at least 180 people. We're talking about fishing boats from not only Venezuela, but also Trinidad and Tobago and Colombia. They did the regime change in Venezuela. He's stealing the oil. He's stealing the gold. We're talking about bombing Yemen and Somalia and Nigeria. That's a new one. Ecuador, Iran, threatening Greenland, threatening Panama, threatening Canada, threatening Cuba and Mexico. Trump said he wanted to reinvade Afghanistan to take back Ballroom Air Base. Okay? All of that, now add Bolivia to the list because they want to also do the same thing there. Now, by the way, any day now, I feel like the Cuba thing is going to unfold. Any day now, I feel like the Cuba thing is going to unfold. So I'm worried about that. And now I'm worried about expanded operations in these other countries because he's going for it all, bro. He's going for it all. He's lost his mind. He has Alzheimer's. He's not well. And he is, in the same way he's like, his malignant narcissism is showing its face when it comes to other things too, like wanting his name on currency, his face on currency, wanting his face on passports, wanting his face on Mount Rushmore, wanting airports named after him. In the same way his malignant narcissism is leading him in that direction, it's also leading him to greenlight every single one of these military operations to try to reassert dominance and power and hegemony and control and basically create an American superstate. He, in his heart of hearts, he wants to expand the footprint of the United States and go down in a historic way. But of course, we're past the era of rank imperialism, of might makes right shit, and he's got to roll back the clock in order to get these gains. And so that's why we're all watching in horror as a sundowning madman, basically the Mad King, King Joffrey, is running wild and committing endless murders and stealing natural resources. And now you get to add this one to the list as well. And by the way, it is insane to me that this is so few people are talking about this, even though things are already underway and you already have bodies in the street and you already have political unrest. The media better start talking about this soon because, again, we're going to be adding another country to the list that they're trying to topple.
Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.
All right, y'all. So the Christian nationalists are absolutely losing their fucking minds. And it is wild to watch. So they had this event over the weekend. I'm not sure if it was just an anti-abortion event or if it was a broader Christian event, but it was like every single right-wing hack evangelical that you can think of and all these Republican politicians, they all got together. And man, it was terrifying when you actually listen to what they say. So let's start with this right here. We have Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, who of course is most well known for tracking his son's pornography use and his son tracking his pornography use, where they used an app where they would be, brought in on when their kid is jacking off and when the dad is jacking off. Like you would get some sort of notification that that's what's going on, or they're on websites they shouldn't be on. This stuff is beyond disturbing. So this is where his Christianity brought him. It brought him to monitoring his son jacking off. Okay, that's like that should be a massive red flag to anybody who wants to go down this path. Okay, but listen to what he says here.
Okay, I want to ask you, we're obviously here at this faith event. Not everyone is happy about that. So let me give you a chance to respond to Americans United for Separation of Church and State. They say if the president really cared about this, he would be celebrating separation of church and state as he...
By the way, that's a massive crowd in the background there. Yeah, you're at this event. Hey, how's that going? How's that looking? It doesn't look too good out there, does it?
On to Americans United for Separation of Church and State. They say if the president really cared about this, he would be celebrating separation of church and state as a unique American invention that has allowed religious diversity to flourish. But they call this a Christian nationalist crusade that is just a very narrow view and version of Christianity that really doesn't serve Americans. And they say this is a public event on public land.
This is a recognition of the deeply embedded history and religious and moral tradition of the country. This is an appropriate thing for us to do on the 250th anniversary, and the people who are upset about it oppose that. They want to erase the history of America and pretend as if we're not a nation that was dedicated originally to God. If you walk into the House chamber this afternoon with me, Shannon, you will see "In God We Trust" inscribed in the marble right above the head of...
Hey, you fucking idiot. That was done in the 1950s. That was done in the 1950s. That wasn't from the founding. What, are you out of your fucking mind? These people don't know anything. They don't even know anything. They don't know anything. They don't know that most of the founders were deists. They weren't Christians. You know what a deist is? It's somebody who believes that there's a God that created us or whatever, but like it's not the God of any particular holy book. Christianity's not right. The other religions aren't correct. It's just like, yeah, we were created by God, but that's all we know, basically, is what the deist position is. They weren't Christians. God, these people, they don't know shit.
History of America and pretend as if we're not a nation that was dedicated originally to God. If you walk into the House chamber this afternoon with me, Shannon, you will see "In God We Trust" inscribed in the marble right above the head of where I stand as the Speaker of the House. Congress put that there as a recognition of who we are. We are one nation under God, and to come here and gather for a happy, hopeful celebration to rededicate ourselves in that way as one nation under God is a healthy and appropriate thing. The people who are the naysayers and who have created this new term of Christian nationalism as a pejorative, a derogatory term, are trying to silence the influence and the voices of Christians, and I think that's wildly inappropriate.
It's not a new term. It's a label that's existed for a very long time, and now you're just gonna be like, all right, it is what it is, bro. Maybe we are Christian nationalists. Holy shnikes, bro. They're just saying it now. It's like, yeah, Christian nationalism, that's what's up. We like that. Bro, that's just a roundabout way of saying, yeah, we want to make it illegal to get an abortion at any point, right? Even if you just had sex. We don't even believe in, like, the morning after pill. That's what he's saying. He's saying, just like Pete Kegsbreath pastor, remember this? The Secretary of War Crimes, his pastor, he's out there saying women shouldn't have the right to vote. He's out there, he doesn't think black people should have the right to vote. They want to go back to some Jim Crow type shit. This is what, when you're actually a Christian nationalist, this is the shit that these people care about. They care about social hierarchy and order. They don't care about, nobody is less like Jesus than these people. Nobody strays more from what Jesus's actual messages are, what his lessons are, than these people. Because again, all these people care about. It's not a coincidence. They're all the ones who line up to support every single illegal war of aggression. They're the ones who line up to cut taxes to the billionaires and give subsidies to the billionaires while they raise your taxes. This is who they are. This is what they do. And now they're like, yeah, just call me a Christian nationalist. I don't give a fuck. I'll rep that shit. And he acts like, how dare they make it a pejorative? It's a pejorative because we're supposed to believe in Enlightenment values. We're supposed to believe in secularism. We're supposed to believe in a separation of church and state. Like, he's acting like, it's always been one nation under God. No, again, all that branding came about in the 1950s as a fuck you to the Soviet Union. That's where that one nation under God bullshit came from. It wasn't from the founding, you fucking dipshit. All right, we're not done. Here's Franklin Graham, who's a known Trump meat slurper. He's going to give his little spiel about how this nation has fallen behind and now we're all sinners and we got to fix that. And listen to what he says here.
The vast majority of Americans then had at least a basic understanding of the Bible. Today, the vast majority have little to no understanding of biblical truth. 250 years ago, the Bible was taught in schools. For many, it was their sole textbook. That doesn't mean everybody had faith, but they had a basic understanding and respect and knowledge of God's word.
By the way, think about what he just said. He said there were places where the Bible was their whole textbook. Like, that's all they learned from was the Bible. Think about how terrifying that is. That's the world that this man wants. Think about what that means. That means no more science, no more expertise, no more engineering, right? No more actually going deep on subjects to become a real expert to try to, expand a field. It's like, everybody shut the fuck up. It's the Handmaid's Tale. Women get in the kitchen. Dads, go work with your hands and become a fucking lumberjack. We're going to have a nation of 350 million fucking lumberjacks, right? Or people who just read the Bible all day. Like, what a fucking hellscape. What a hellscape. So you want people to read the Bible all day and only take the lessons out of the Bible. Okay, well, there's lessons in the Bible. Like, it's a crime to wear a mix of two different fabrics. Like, that's an abomination in the eyes of God. Does that make sense? It's also an abomination in the eyes of God to eat shellfish. Are we prepared to ban shrimp as a nation or lobster? or crabs? Is that what we're going to do? Like, they're so inconsistent. But he's not done. Wait until he gets to the list of things. Like, oh, we fall into sin, and here are the sins. And then listen to the things he lists.
Today, the Bible has been removed from our schools.
Good. It has to be, because we have a constitution that separates church and state, you fucking idiot. If we allowed a Quran in the school, right? Or if we allowed the Bhagavad Gita, do you have any idea? They would be the first ones to chirp up and be like, how dare you bring this in the classroom? That's not right. But they don't actually say that because they believe in separation of church and state. They say that because they're like, we just only want to teach the Bible. So they want to allow religion in, but only their particular version of their particular religion. That's what these people are. I mean, it's totally unserious. It's an unserious approach to governing and to education.
It's been removed from our schools, and for the most part, the public square. But there is a downward moral decline, spiraling ever deeper into the mire. Things that never would have been talked about publicly just 30 years ago.
Let me just say, a man who very proudly slurps Trump's meat and supports him endlessly is talking about a moral decline of the nation. Bruh. Yeah, people like you are leading the moral decline. You are the moral decliners. All the fucking MAGA sycophants are moral decliners. That's what you are. You've made this country worse.
Sinful behavior that should make us blush is now celebrated and flaunted on Main Street America. America has become morally rotten, completely sick with sin. Transgenderism.
Oh no, his first two examples of how we've become morally rotten are transgenderism and same-sex marriage. Oh my word. So let me get this straight. The people who are bothering absolutely nobody and have done absolutely nothing wrong, they're the problem. The people who are effectively in the wrong body, and so they're like, I just want to express the gender as I feel it, they're somehow evil and nefarious and bad and wrong. And gay people who simply love people of the same sex, they're just, they're evil and immoral and bad and wrong. But you, supporting a war criminal, pedophile, rapist, con man for president, you're not immoral. See how that doesn't quite add up, son?
Marriage, opening women's locker rooms to men are just the tip of the iceberg. Why do we need to rededicate ourselves? When God sent the flood and destroyed the earth, it was because man's heart had become so evil and violent. In the news, we see unimaginable violence, rapes, murders, mass shootings. On YouTube, there's so much violence.
He said, on YouTube, there's so much violence. Bro's talking about, like, video game violence and shit, or, like, violence in a movie. He's saying, oh, that's the problem. Okay, again, notice, listen to what he says. He's not talking here about war. He's not. He's talking about, like, oh, street crime and violence on YouTube. Listen to this. Listen.
When God sent the flood and destroyed the earth, it was because man's heart had become so evil and violent. In the news, we see unimaginable violence, rapes, murders, mass shootings. On YouTube, there's so much violence. Movies, video games are full of violence. We have an insatiable appetite for violence. And I believe this grieves the heart of God and will bring his judgment if we don't repent as a nation.
Oh, my word. All right, so ready for this? So I quote tweeted that, and I said, no mention of corruption, starting illegal wars, carpet bombing schools, funding genocide, building concentration camps, torture, destruction of the Constitution, kicking people off healthcare, cutting free school meals, giving all the money to the rich. Shocking! So in other words, all of the actual sins that this government is committing, all of the actual sins, he supports. 100%. He lines up behind Trump, slurps him silly, and supports it. So, okay, dude, you are the problem. You are the evil. You are the immoral one. Okay? I don't want to hear this anymore. I'm so sick of these religious fundamentalists who are nothing but judge, 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 shame, shame, shame. When push comes to shove, you're the actual problem. You're the one who believes in nothing real. Like I said, nobody is less like Jesus than these disgusting freaks. Okay? You won't find a group of people that's more like Jesus than going and talking to a bunch of atheist progressives or going and talking to a bunch of average Muslims. Those people are 1,000 times more like Jesus than the so-called evangelical Christians. The fundamentalist Christians are like Jesus, okay? I mean, it's fucking sick. All right, but we're not done. So Marco Rubio says, from our country's beginning, for as long as America has embodied freedom and exceptionalism, the soul of our nation has been rooted in the Christian faith. Today we gather, as our forefathers did, on this day centuries ago, to rededicate our nation to God. That's what he says. So this person points out, shout out to M. Kenobi, this is what the founding fathers had to say about religion. Ready? Thomas Jefferson. Christianity neither is nor ever was part of the common law. Christianity is the most perverted system that ever shone on man. Religions are all alike, founded upon fables and mythologies. John Adams, the government of the United States of America is not in any sense founded on the Christian religion. The United States is not a Christian nation any more than it is a Jewish or a Mohammedan, that was their way of saying Muslim back in the day, nation. Thomas Paine, whenever we read the obscene stories, the voluptuous debaucheries, the cruel and torturous executions, the unrelenting vindictiveness with which more than half of the Bible is filled, it would be more consistent that we call it the word of a demon than the word of God. It has served to corrupt and brutalize mankind. And by the way, that's exactly how I feel about the Franklin Graham types and the Mike Johnson types. You guys are fucking demons. As you pretend like you're the servants of Jesus, the servants of God. Fuck out of here. James Madison says, quote, religion and government will both exist in greater purity the less they are mixed together. The purpose of separation of church and state is to keep forever from these shores the ceaseless strife that has soaked the soil of Europe with blood for centuries. So these were actually educated people who had this shit clocked, son. Understood. Hey, we need to separate this shit out because it's going to get fucking ugly as a motherfucker if we let these psychopaths run the show. We let this insane ideology lead the way. They understood that these people are hypocrites. These people themselves are immoral. They're liars. And now here we are today, and we're fighting the same old goddamn battles, bro. It's the same old battles. And they're just as evil, if not more evil now than they were then. And it's just, it's terrifying is what it is. When nothing drives me crazier than having to fight these same battles that we won 1,000 times. We got to go fight it for 1,001st time. That is fucking terrifying to me. But you got to do what you got to do because we can't let them win because this nation is going to be, as fast as we're declining, we would decline even quicker if they got their way on everything.
Hey y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.
So the other day we talked about hantavirus and how, hantavirus was exploding on this ship and it kind of got out of control, and they had a lot of people released from the ship, and they got on planes, and they flew home, and it was horrible. They didn't contain the virus properly. They didn't quarantine. I mean, just rookie shit, amateur hour shit. Well, now we have perhaps an even more scary story, so take a look at this. World Health Organization declares health emergency due to Ebola outbreak in the Congo with 80-plus deaths undetected for weeks. USAID and the CDC once worked there to strengthen surveillance. As I wrote in 2023, that cut detection to 48 hours and costs. That's now gone. This is the result. So the New York Times reported on it. Joseph Allen says, U.S. used to have the systems in place to catch this within 48 hours. Now it's spread for weeks undetected. Ladies and gentlemen, weeks undetected. Jeremy Konadink says, it is pretty unprecedented for the WHO to declare a PHEIC so rapidly after detecting an outbreak, but it is absolutely merited in this case. This is a scary one. Why? Very late detection, difficult context, limited countermeasures, and global response tools get doged. Okay? He says, it's instructive to compare this against other major past outbreaks. The largest Ebola outbreak in history, West Africa 2014, which I worked on for USAID, was detected at a far earlier stage, 49 cases, 29 deaths, than this one. 246 cases and 65 deaths. Deaths are now 88 and climbing. This one has already built up more momentum at time of detection, worrying because Ebola risk and response scale in an exponential, not linear fashion. Each extra uncontrolled case means tens of more people potentially exposed in super spreading events. That in turn requires tens more response staff per additional case to treat patients, run lab samples, trace and monitor contacts, etc. I wrote about the huge difficulties of scaling up Ebola response in 2014 in this paper. Second point of comparison, location. DRC has a lot of experience with Ebola and tends to control outbreaks quickly when they are in government-controlled areas. Except the last outbreak in the East, which got massively out of control, killed 2,300 and required a huge international response. Eastern DRC is a very tough place to mount a major outbreak response. There is active conflict in Ituri and much of the region. These are incidents of violence in the past month, and reporting from MSF, that's Doctors Without Borders, on rising violence recently. Notably, the huge outbreak in the Eastern Democratic Republic of the Congo in 2018 and 19 was the Ebola Zaire strain, which has a highly effective vaccine and other medical countermeasures developed during the 2014-15 West Africa outbreak. That brings us to the third comparison. This is a different strain with no vaccine. So if a vaccine-preventable strain of Ebola in the same region could generate over 2,300 deaths, this one could very well be worse. Controlling it will require a major global response to support the DRC Ministry of Health. About that, fourth point of comparison with past responses, most of the international infrastructure that we relied on in past outbreaks has been doged. In 2014, USAID and CDC, supported by the U.S. military, led the international response. USAID is gone and CDC is decimated. By the way, let me just point out, it is literally the case. There were many articles that said hundreds or thousands or millions of people will die because of the doging of USAID. Well, guess what? That's exactly what happened. Because people couldn't get their HIV medication. They couldn't get their malaria medication. The limited funds they had for rural hospitals went away, and now those things shut down. So you had massive numbers of death, preventable deaths that occurred everywhere, okay? All because of Elon Musk. The same guy that cut pediatric cancer research in the U.S., the same guy that cut Meals on Wheels, the same guy that cut the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, which is basically the only corporate cops we have in this country that actually hold financial institutions accountable to the American people. He destroyed all of that. And now because of the same shit, now we're looking at a massive Ebola outbreak, an uncontrolled Ebola outbreak. More. USAID had a dedicated outbreak response division that tackled Ebola and other outbreaks. Elon Musk fired that team in the midst of a small Ebola outbreak in Uganda last year, then lied about it. Today, that team, like USAID, no longer exists. Let me say this as clearly as possible. Elon Musk should be in prison. He's a criminal. He's a disgusting, horrible criminal. He's stolen 38 billion US tax dollars from the American people. He takes that money and he puts it to sending rockets that explode immediately upon reaching space, okay? And like I said, he turned around and gutted our entire administrative state and regulatory state and international health infrastructure. And as a direct result of that, people are dying. They're dying. And meanwhile, he's sitting there, he's about to become a fucking trillionaire. The irony of the world's first trillionaire, and he's the one who guts all the scientific and medical research and leads to the deaths of thousands of people. This guy is a world historic villain. A world historic villain. Because of him, millions of people will die. Millions. In the Eastern DRC, in 2018, the U.S. government response was smaller, but World Health Organization made one of the largest deployments in its history to help the DRC get the outbreak under control. World Health Organization at least still exists, but it is currently reeling from huge budget cuts after Trump withdrew and cut off all U.S. funding. We pulled out of it. World Health Organization's funding for health emergencies has dropped by 37% since 2024, Jesus Christ, and it has been forced to lay off thousands of staff around the world. Meanwhile, its emergency contingency fund is close to empty. Tough starting point to mount a major response. So the landscape for international support is pretty yikes, which is frustrating because Ebola, unlike early COVID, is a virus that we understand pretty well by now, and for which we have solid blueprints for large-scale response, if the money and expertise are deployed. So what needs to happen now? Move fast to activate financing and deploy surge capacity to support the DRC. Ebola response only gets more intensive and expensive the longer you wait to ramp it up. Pinching pennies now will mean higher bills later, and the U.S. needs to get in the game. The dismantling of U.S.-funded health programming in the DRC by DOGE is likely a big factor in why this outbreak was detected so late. Important not to compound that mistake with a slow and tepid U.S. government response now. CDC has, or at least had, a lot of vital expertise. The administration needs to deploy those folks. Remember the stupid performative restrictions on contact between the CDC and the World Health Organization? Remove the restrictions on that, and just let them engage in a fully unfettered way to contain this outbreak. USAID is gone, but a handful of experienced Ebola responders shifted over to state. This would be a good time to activate them onto a DART for Congo and ramp up the funding as the Trump administration did in 2018 when USAID still existed. This is an all-hands-on-deck situation. Other donors will have to step up, whether or not the U.S. does. The post-DOGE U.S. government with an RFK-led health department will be erratic at best. Clock is ticking. Time to act. This will get exponentially harder the longer things wait. That's exactly right. And it's a terrifying scenario, bro. It is a terrifying scenario. We pulled out of the World Health Organization. We told everybody to fuck off, right? We defunded all this shit. It's leading to outbreaks. The stuff is uncontrollable now. The fact of the matter is, at some point, China is going to be the one to step up, and China is going to be the one to fill in the blanks here because we ruined it. We were the world's sole superpower. Now we're not. We're turning inward. And somebody's going to have to pick up that slack, and it's probably going to be the second most powerful nation, which is quickly becoming the most powerful nation, probably already is the most powerful nation, China. And so, simply put, you cannot rely on a country that has a head of Health and Human Services that says nicotine is good for you, methylene blue is good for you, you should take testosterone and human growth hormone as a 70-year-old man, you should take a peptide that makes your skin darker, you should be obsessed with mitochondria and eat roadkill and bathe in sewage-infested creeks. A guy like that, who's a junk science peddler, he has no business running HHS. And anybody who's in that sort of position, yeah, of course you're going to defund the shit out of our scientific research and medical research. Of course, you're going to destroy science in this country. And that's what RFK's done at Health and Human Services. He limited access to the COVID vaccine and put vaccine skeptics on the advisory panel and fired the CDC director for not listening to his junk science and fired 1,260 people at the Epidemic Intelligence Service. Again, at a time when we're facing another epidemic, ended the global vaccine program, our support for that, helped kick millions off Medicaid. He canceled the flu vaccine campaign. The guy's just a junk science believer. He just is. And so if that's what it looks like domestically, and now there is no international footprint, like what the fuck do you expect to happen? This thing is probably going to spiral out of control even more, and the deaths are going to go up, 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 up. That's what I think is likely to happen because we're not serious anymore. We're not serious. And we no longer care about shit like that. Trump is too busy self-enriching. Trump is too busy doing corrupt schemes and bombing new countries and doing regime changes. He's too busy with all that shit to give a shit about, people dying in Africa. He doesn't give a fuck about them. So here we are. It's an absolute nightmare scenario. That's the show. I love you all very much, man. You guys know the deal. Everybody subscribe to the channel and click that bell icon. You can also support the show on Patreon. That link is below. Remember, y'all, this is real independent media, so your support is very much appreciated. I've never talked to an advertiser. I never will. Never did an ad read. Never will. So thank you for all your support. Thank you for everybody who supports Crystal Kyle and Friends on Substack. That link is below as well. And go sub to Corin's World. You know the deal. You'll see me there every Monday night. We do live Colin Corin episodes. Come hang out with us over there. All right. I love you guys, and I'll talk to you soon. Peace.
Hey y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.